Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Texte's another podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us. She is Ying. She is from UK and she is working at Rolls-Royce as a manufacturing team lead. So she is going to share her quarantine life as well as we are going to ask her a lot of questions about how she became an engineer, what was the passion behind, how she is facing the problems which normally when it comes to engineering there is a concept that it's for men, but how she became an engineer, and definitely she is an example for all the women across the globe. So Ying, can you please introduce yourself for the audience?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ying Wan Loh, and as someone say, I work for Rolls-Royce, starting off as a manufacturing engineer in the company. So I was actually born in Malaysia, and I grew up in Malaysia, and I came to the UK to study my university degrees. So I've got a bachelor's and a master's, and after that, I joined Rolls-Royce.
Wow, that's really great. By the way, before going for your quarantine life, I want to know that how you joined Rolls-Royce, and before going for Rolls-Royce, how you when you started, when you find it out that this is your passion,
Mhm.
engineering is your passion, and you want to become an engineer.
So when I was younger, I didn't know about the job called engineer. Like I didn't know about it. And as a kid growing up in Malaysia, everyone talks about becoming a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer. Nobody really says, you want to become an engineer. But actually, well, when I grew up and I started to, do physics, maths, chemistry, and I was researching what to do for my A levels, I thought, well, as you know, I would take the science courses because I enjoy doing science. And one of the ways I can go on to do university degree is to become an engineer. And as an engineer, you're basically studying all the theory in physics and maths, and you actually apply them. So you build houses. Like for me, we build jet engines. You create spacecrafts. You go into the oceans. It's actually making the theory live, right? And I thought that's actually really interesting. I'm not just studying something in the books and actually apply it and actually make something real. So that's
When
what
it comes to engineering, it's more practical than a theory.
exactly. It's all about practical. It's all about whatever you learn. It's how do you apply it in real life, and that's what really interests me.
So, by the way, how your quarantine life is going? Like the whole world is talking about COVID-19 nowadays. How much
Mhm.
your personal life has been affected because of this COVID thing, and how you're spending your quarantine life?
So in the UK, we've been in quarantine since the 23rd of March. So we have essentially been at home for 2 months now. We are allowed outside the house once a day for exercise or essential shopping. So when the weather is good, I do go out for a little walk, a little jog. There's not many people on the street, so it's very quiet.
So
But
nowadays you are working from home. You're not going to your office nowadays.
yes, I'm working from home full time, like a lot of my colleagues. So it's a lot of using technology. We use FaceTime or we use the phone a lot more, WebEx and things like that. And we're all adapting. We're all still learning what is the best way to do a lot of our physical activities online.
Yeah. So, by the way, when we talk about COVID, everything has been changed.
Mm.
The one of the major changes that we are physically distant from all the people around. So how you're keeping your passion alive, how you are, like, people are feeling depressed nowadays because of COVID. Would you
Mm.
suggest others that how they can make these days productive?
Okay, I think the first thing is don't be hard on yourself. A lot of people might feel, I'm not doing anything, and you feel stressed. And the
Yeah.
more you stress, the more you don't feel getting up to do something. And I think what's really important is the first steps. Do little things at a time, small milestones. So one of my passion is actually volunteering for STEM. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Before the quarantine, I was doing a lot of events. Over the weekends, I was, giving talks, judging for children competition and things like that. And obviously, all of that stopped overnight in March, and all the events were cancelled. But I think what we've learned is, take your time, digest it, and then start thinking, well, what can I do differently? So what's now picking up is all the previous STEM events that were face to face has now moved online. So this week I have, we're doing this podcast. Next week I'm doing an Instagram live.
By the way, you just mentioned that, everything is going virtually nowadays. It's all online nowadays. So I think this is something which is really important. We need to change accordingly. Whenever there is a crisis, there are opportunities. So we need to keep ourselves alive, and we don't have to feel depressed during these days. I think we can make these days productive by learning about different things. As you just mentioned that previously you were doing different talks and all that face to face, and now you're doing the same using online tools.
Yes.
So I think this is something which is really great, and everyone needs to learn from your experience that they need to move online. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So by the
It's reaching out to people, but in a different channel.
So by the way, Ying, when it comes to your business life, how much that has been affected? Like your work life has been affected?
I think at work, I have to say there's massive changes in how we conduct meetings and how we carry out working. So I work in external supply chain, where I used to have to go out to visit suppliers every week, and I have to travel a lot. Go out to suppliers and meet people, and we actually work on the manufacturing shop floor. But that's not happening now. A lot of disruption in businesses across the world. But I think we have found a way. We've found a way. So we keep in touch with the suppliers on the phone, on WebEx, and we start to brainstorm creatively, right? Okay, we used to do things this way. How can we be innovative and do things differently, right? So there are engineers who were previously working in a factory, but now they're working from home. So maybe we can use this time to do some training, right? We can interact, we can upskill ourselves, we can try to push the project forward in a different way. And I think that's been quite refreshing, really, in terms of how quick people adapt. You will have like a period of people being quite shocked. It's like, oh my god, everything stopped. But now everyone's learning. It's even colleagues who are older and who might not be very good with the technology. They've learned how to merge calls on the iPhone. All these little techy things.
I think this is a great time. I think this is time where we can reflect back on our mistakes and we can fix them. We can learn new skills, new technology. I think this is a great time, and we need to look everything in a positive way. Yeah. So by the way, what drives you, and what is that one thing which drives you, like being an engineer? Like it's something which is it's not an easy job. It's something which is hard to do. So what is that one thing which drives you, which keeps you passionate?
I think the key thing for me is you live and you want to experience different things. I'm quite an adventurous person. I want to live life to the fullest. So I don't like to stay in the comfort zone. I always try to push myself and do different things. And for an engineer, that's perfect because what you do is problem solving. For example, like how do we create? Well, even in the COVID crisis, where people have shortage of PPEs, and guess what? A bunch of engineers started to 3D print PPE with their 3D printers. Engineers are problem solvers, and whether it is a jet engine or a building or a car or a train, right? You give the problem to an engineer, and then they will sort it out. They'll figure it out using maths, tools, experiments. We'll figure it out, and that's what drives me really. Like it's the constant solving a problem, not knowing what's next.
Challenging job, and the continuous challenges you have, this is what drives you.
Yes, exactly. And I'm really excited. I'm really glad that I'm an engineer because it's a job that no 2 days are the same. Every day is different.
Wow. So by the way, there is one more thing which just came in my mind, that when it comes to people, that normally people are afraid of, there is a fear of failure. There is a fear of changes. Whenever there is a change, people are afraid of those changes. So being an engineer, as you just mentioned, you are fond of challenges, and that's the thing which drives you. So what do you recommend others, that how they can overcome that fear of failure?
I think you have
Even
to
in
adopt,
normal life, being an entrepreneur, whoever they are.
yeah, you have to adopt the Silicon Valley mindset. They say fail fast. It's like, don't be afraid of failure. Every single person who are successful that you see in the media failed in the past. Like, if you're afraid of failure, you never take that step. And if you never take that step, you know what? Nothing's going to change for you.
Yeah.
I think I'm never afraid of failure. I'm always keen to try something out. And what's the worst that could happen, right? If you try something and it doesn't work, well, go back and try something different. And failure is just, I think we've all, the society's got this stigma about failures. Oh, they fail. Oh, he failed. I mean, I don't think that's helpful. We should be proud that we've done something. At least you've put the effort. You've made it into action. If it fails, that's fine. We'll carry on. And people who are not afraid of failure achieves more.
And failure is something which becomes your asset later on. And that failure is the biggest learning you have in your life.
Exactly. Totally agree.
So, by the way, as COVID, how we can help others, like when it comes to COVID-19, there are a lot of people who are the most vulnerable in this crisis, specifically the daily wages. What do you think, how we can help others during this crisis, and what your government, specifically when it comes to UK, what your government is doing for those kind of people?
So in the UK, there's a furlough scheme. So that means that the UK government will pay 80% of the people's wages. And you can imagine right now a lot of restaurants and people in the tourism industry is not working. So hotels are not open, restaurants, shops, everything is closed. So the government is paying the wages for these.
It's for all the industries or just for travel and tourism and hotels?
In all the industries.
Oh, wow.
And I think last month they've published that they are paying for 25% of the UK workforce. They are on furlough at the moment. So
wow, I think that this is something which is really great. And there are a lot of private organizations, I hope, who will be working for the people of UK over there.
Yeah. So it's a UK government scheme to encourage employers to keep the employees rather than massive job losses. They're encouraging people to keep on to their employees whilst the UK government pay for them. So that scheme is running until the end of October, which means hopefully by then there'll be slowly reopening of the economy. People can slowly get back to work and keep the jobs, restaurants or shops, hotels, and things like that.
I think this is something which is really great. This way, the companies will be able to survive during this crisis. Yeah. Other than that, there will be a very hard time on these kind of companies. By the way, when it comes to Rolls-Royce, you are working in such a big company. It's a massive company. It's such a big name across the globe. So, how is your experience in Rolls-Royce? Can you share a bit?
Your experience in general?
Yeah, experience in general.
Well, I have to say I love.
Then we will go for the COVID-19. How you people have changed. Yeah. So there are a few things which I have read recently in Forbes. So I'm gonna ask you about those things.
Yeah, I mean, Rolls-Royce make a lot of they make power systems, including jet engines, and I'm in the division that makes civil large engines. And ever since the first day I joined, I mean, I'm just impressed. I worked in a final assembly plant for the engines, and they are massive. And when you see like tens of them in the factory being lifted and assembled, and all like shiny, massive, complex machines there that can actually lift an A380 aircraft, it's just impressive. And I mean, I've worked on the parts of the engines, and one of the parts, the combustors. So that's the bit where we burn the fuel to generate power for the engine. That component, when it's running in the air, the operating temperature is 2,000, 3,000 degrees Celsius, and that's a third of the temperature of the surface of the sun. Like, you do have to run the engine to a really hot temperature to lift the whole aircraft, and I thought that's really, really impressive technology. I mean, I've worked here 5 years, and every single day I still think it's really cool.
Wow, that's really great. So, by the way, when it comes to your sales side for the Rolls-Royce, like you people are working on engines, you people are working on vehicles, there are plenty of different industries Rolls-Royce is working on. So,
Mhm.
when it comes to the sales rise, how might they are affected? Because now I was reading a newspaper the other day
Mm.
that the sales, when it comes to sales of vehicles, even the airlines are stepping down because of this COVID thing because no one is traveling. So how much that side has been affected when it comes to Rolls-Royce?
I think well, the company doesn't only make jet engines; it also make trains. It also make nuclear, sort of nuclear power systems for uh, powering power plants. And I suppose that's the strength of its portfolio. It's not 100% depending on one sector, so it's kind of yeah, it's a balancing act at the moment. So we've also got a defense line where it's stable at the moment throughout the crisis. And I suppose that's all I can say because I'm not the CEO of Rolls-Royce. You have to ask me
Yeah,
about it.
no. By the yeah, you're from the manufacturing side, so
Yeah,
it's relevant for the sales side.
yeah.
So by the way, there is one another thing which which I read in a newspaper
Mm.
day before yesterday. It was published in Forbes that Rolls-Royce has started producing honey, and it's the most expensive honey in the world. So
I
yeah,
didn't know
this is
that.
what I was. Yeah, basically, I have the link for that Forbes.
What? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
you didn't know
Most
about that?
expensive
I
honey.
read that. I'm gonna share that link with you.
Okay, that's really
Yeah. So by the way, in that article, it was mentioned that because of COVID, because industry has been changed, so they came up with this idea and they implemented a new product. So
mm,
it's a kind of new product for Rolls-Royce.
yeah.
So by the way, I was also amazed, and I thought I'm gonna ask this question to you. So
Mhm.
it's a true or not? But
I
like
don't
by the
know.
way,
I don't.
it was published in Forbes. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's really interesting. But I think what it shows is businesses are being innovative, right? Um,
Yeah.
you adapt. You survive by adapting. You adapt your business model to make sure something you want to make something work. Whatever the circumstances. So I think this is just one example of being innovative.
Yeah. So, by the way, there is one more thing which I want to ask you that you are also a kind of mentor as you give talks on different places. So,
Hmm.
when it comes to startups, small companies
Hmm.
who their existing business models are not generating them money anymore.
Yep.
So, how important is this to change their business model according to the current situation so they can survive in this pandemic? What you are gonna say for those kind of people, for those kind of startups?
So I think we'll definitely follow the trend. That's really important because the world is changing. If you're not changing, then you won't survive the wave, right? So follow the trend, see what is in demand right now, and see if they can pivot the business to suit
Yeah.
the demand. And we all know what is high on demand right now. You know, well, we've got the hospitals, healthcare, logistics, food industry. Those are the industries that are very high in demand. And as technology as well, as more people get online, is there an opportunity there where you can capture your audience through online channels? So I would say, adapt and be flexible quickly. So that's when you can capture mass your opportunity.
So, by the way, what according to you is there any? You're an engineer and you are working at Rolls-Royce.
Mhm.
So, what according to you, people have any misconceptions about engineering when it comes to women?
Oh yes, definitely. Even in the UK, female engineers only make up 10 to 12% of engineers. So that means 90% of engineers are men. Um, and there's still a massive social concept that engineering is a man's job. But having
Yeah,
been there myself, I want to debunk this myth. Engineering is not just hard hat and a spanner. Like we don't, it's not a physical work, it's an intellectual work. We do data analysis, we design stuff. It's actually intellectually stimulating. It's a very rewarding career, and I hope more people know about it.
yeah. I think this is something you are one of the inspiration for the people, for the women across the globe. You are an amazing engineer. You are the role model, by the way. So yeah. So, by the way, one thing which I want to ask you that are you fond of traveling?
I love traveling. I love traveling, and I've been a lot. I mean, I've been before this crisis. I fly a lot. Like I would spend a weekend in somewhere in Europe.
So, by the way, everyone had a plan prior to this COVID for 2020 that this is the place which I'm gonna go this year. This is the place I'm gonna visit this year. So, what were your plans?
I've always got lots of plans, right? Lots of plans. This time last year, guess where I was? I was in Amsterdam, and I remember
Well,
very clearly because I was in Amsterdam and the flight got cancelled on the way back because of a strike in Amsterdam. So I can't come back. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I can stay in Amsterdam. For this year, I do have lots of plans. I think so. One of the things I really want, one of the places I wanted to go, quite funnily, is actually tropical rainforest in Malaysia. So I grew up in Malaysia, but I grew up in the city, and I've never visited the tropical rainforest. And
and you wanted to visit that forest.
yeah, it's like I've been, in the lockdown, I've been reading a lot about how amazing tropical rainforests are, the biodiversity, how beautiful it is. And there's not many people who go there. You have to trek in the mountains for a few days to see the wildlife and the caves and things like that. And I think, well, I should be doing that this year. And I still hope to do that this year. If everything gets
Well,
better, I
if
still want
everything get back to normal.
yeah.
So, by the way, there are a lot of things that things will not get to normal at least till the end of this year. By the way, I was reading this in another day, like from 1st of June, from mid of June, Italy is opening up for travel and tourism. So I don't know how true that news is, but let's see what's going to happen. But the majority of news channels are saying that till the end of 2020 there will be no travel and tourism this year. 2020 only Corona is gonna travel. So it's Corona's time.
Well, I think they call it the new normal, right? So I think for a little bit of traveling might be allowed, but then that will be done with social distancing, wearing masks, checking
Yeah.
temperatures in the airport, and that kind of, it's not going to be like what we had before.
Yeah, by the way, you just mentioned the new normal. The new normal will be different than, yeah. It will be COVID is not going anywhere until and unless we don't have the vaccine. So the
Exactly,
new normal will be different. Yeah.
exactly.
So by the way, what is your most favorite city across the globe, which you visited before and you really want to visit that again?
I have so many. Where do I start? Does it need to be a city or a place?
City or a place, whatever you want to mention.
Okay. Well,
Your
there was one summer I was in southern France during the lavender season. So that's close to Nice, but it's in the rural area. So you have to like drive a little bit outside. Nobody speaks English. It was amazing. It was in August. There was like lavender fields, just lots of like purple fields, and a lot of people there are farmers. And there was this little place where it's just covered by lavender fields. It's got a little like cliff, a little mount in the middle of the fields, and there's one B&B. And the owner, she's a French lady. She doesn't speak any English. So I stayed there for with my family for a week, and it was so good.
Wow.
Wow.
So by the way, when it comes to traveling, as you just mentioned that you are a kind of avid traveler and you travel a lot. So what is that one thing which makes you travel other than business? Like definitely you travel for business, but you also travel for fun.
Yeah.
When you travel for fun, what makes you travel? The cultural values of that place, the natural beauty. What is that thing which makes you travel?
I would say all of that, and most importantly, it is. I'm an adventurous person, and I think most importantly, it is experience life. To me, life is not always staying in the same place. Life is experiencing what the world has to offer, and what the world has to offer. There are people, different cultures, different religion, different food, different, all sorts of different things, and I think there's so much to experience in this world. That's why I'll never be confined to one place. That's why I'll constantly keep moving, even if it's traveling, going to different places, talking to different people, understanding different languages. And I think that's the beauty of living.
Yeah, by the way, this is really a great message that like you want to experience life. Life
Yes.
is all about experiencing rather than just stick to one thing. So by the way, when it comes to travel, as you just mentioned, I forgot the food part. By the way, this is one of the favorite parts. Everyone has it traveling. So yeah, what is that place like? Which food you like the most?
If you research Malaysia, Malaysians are very, very proud of their food culture. They would say their food is the best in the world. Um, what is that's so hard. Like, where do I even start? The Southern Europe is generally very good. Italian, Spanish, French. The French tends to be more like, you sit it proper in the proper place. But then you've got street food in Italy. Southeast Asia is diverse, spicy, lots of different flavors, street food. I've been in Vietnam, Singapore, and Thailand. Very cheap, but very good cheap street food. And I've been, China, Japan. It's all in the. I can't really say one thing. It's so hard.
So yeah, by the way, when it comes to food, everyone loves food.
Yes.
So I love this is when it comes to traveling. Like I'm running basically Texte is a travel and tourism company over here in Pakistan. It's a digital travel guide. So I love tourism. So that is the reason I ask a lot of questions about travel and tourism to my podcast guests.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I
So
think
by the
that's
way, there is one more thing. Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's one thing that I really also really liked about traveling. When you talk to people from a different culture, you learn about the culture, and I think that's very important as a person. You expand your horizon. It's not. I'm
Yeah.
not always thinking in the same way I think where I was born and where I was grow up. I can constantly challenge this thinking. And like talking to, let's say, to a German person, they might look at things differently. And I thought, well, actually, I've never thought about that because I've always think about it in a way that I grew up with, in the society that I grew up with. So I think that's very valuable, whether it is for your personal life or for your career.
Yeah, by the way, when it comes to travel and tourism, it's not just all about experiencing. I think more than that, there is also an effect on your brain. Like you start thinking in a multiple ways.
Yes.
It opens up the world to you when it comes to travel and tourism by learning about different cultures. This is one of the reasons that people say that travel makes you modest. So yeah,
Totally.
I think
Yeah,
travel.
totally
I think
agree.
traveling is something which is a very important part, and we learn a lot from travel and tourism. By the way, when it comes to COVID situation of UK, let's come back to COVID-19. When it
Yeah.
comes to the COVID situation over there in UK,
Mm.
are people following the rules and regulations or instructions by the government? What's
Yeah,
happening over there in terms of
I
COVID?
think what we're seeing is in the first few weeks or even in the first month, everyone really follow the rules. So they've got data to back that up. Nobody's traveling outside, no cars, no public transport is almost non-existent apart from key workers. But I think recently the government has relaxed the rules a little bit to allow more people to go back to work. And then, I mean, we tend to see more people now outside, but that's because they have relaxed the rules a little bit. And it wasn't very clear like how many times can you go out a day. They say you can go out unlimited times a day for exercise. So, people go out.
So yeah, exactly. This is happening now.
Yeah.
After a bit of relaxation, people are stepping out a lot even over here in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So by the way, how important is this to accepting COVID as a reality? Because this is a reality now, and we have to change accordingly, according to the COVID. Until and unless we are not going to change our lifestyle according to COVID, we're not going to survive in the current world. Like we are chatting virtually, we're not meeting in a conference, we are not meeting in conferences anymore. So everything is going virtual. So what is your last message for the people?
I would say accept it with positive attitude because that's the way you can treat yourself better. You don't try to fight it because it's happening. And as long as you accept it, try to innovate within that, and then you will find it rewarding. We all have to adapt as humans.
I think this is something which is really important, which you just mentioned, that try to innovate
Yeah.
according to COVID-19, because that will be the real change.
Yeah.
And try to pivot your business models, as well as, I think this is a message from my end, that try to pivot your business models and try to create as many jobs as you can during this crisis, because there are a lot of people who are jobless nowadays.
Exactly.
So whenever there is a crisis, every single crisis has a lot of opportunities.
Mm.
It comes with a lot of opportunities. Like nowadays, there are a lot of businesses which are boosting, like e-commerce businesses. There are delivery businesses. There are a lot of opportunities nowadays. So you can start anything. You can pivot your business model to any new thing.
Yeah.
So by the way, when it comes to women engineers,
Mm.
what is your last message for women engineers, women who wanted to become an engineer?
Oh, that's going to be a very important message. I have to think about it clearly. Um, for,
You know, there are a lot of women who want to become an engineer, but they don't have a clear roadmap. So, would you suggest them?
I would say you can do it. Like, women out there, if you're interested in science, you don't need to be, sometimes we have a very high standard we have in our head. No, it's not about that. It's, as long as you learn about it, you make your effort in it, anybody can be an engineer. Anybody can be an engineer. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman.
By the way, there is one more thing which I want to mention over here, that people, they are more they care more about what other people are gonna say about them. I think this is something which doesn't matter. So, what's your take on that?
Definitely, like, I mean, that's just society's perception. And I think being an engineer is so rewarding. You do it only for yourself. If you like science, if you like it, do it for yourself. Whatever people say, I mean, they're not living the life you live, right? So they can say whatever they want. And as an engineer,
I think this is a very important message, that you need to do whatever you want in your life, because
exactly,
you are chasing happiness.
yeah,
So don't listen to people. Don't listen to others what they are saying. Do what you want.
yeah,
You do what you want to do in your life.
yeah.
I think on this note, it's really nice talking to you. It's now the timer is going above 30 minutes.
Mhm.
By the way, thank you so much for sparing out time for this podcast, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye. And for the audience, we will be back with another podcast very soon. Thank you.